The satellite images are sending back now what appear to be large-scale, complex archaeological sites. So they're not small hunting villages and pit houses. These look like advanced technological civilizations that we're seeing underneath the ice. One of the reasons this is a problem for historians is because the ice sheet in Antarctica originated most recently. We've had multiple ice sheets, the most recent about 20,000 years ago. And that opens the door to the question, who was here 20,000 years ago to build complex archaeological structures on the continent of Antarctica? And what role does that play in the history and the mythology that's almost universal of ancient civilizations? It may be what we now see as the 6 cradles of civilization very soon will expand to at least 7 and possibly more.
You get reports occasionally of structures being found emerging out of the ice at Antarctica. Just recently there was one which took my attention to do with what was described as almost like an embanked area, like a hill fort that was found. And that struck my attention as being different to all the other stories. And this raises my hopes that these settlements did actually exist. I think this matter should be looked into more. The only problem is, can we interest archaeologists to spend good money to go to Antarctica to investigate these sites? I think it's possible that as the ice starts to melt in Antarctica, which it is doing more and more, that it will reveal structures. And if this is the case, those structures have probably been buried in the ice for tens of thousands of years. So these are going to be very, very ancient indeed. And they could easily be the product of hybrid descendants.
But who could these descendants be? Researchers like Billy Carson lead us to some new theories on Antarctica and its current location.
Antarctica had once been a tropical island, and that was the center of the so-called pre-Adamite civilization. And it got moved to what's now the South Pole. There might have been some kind of nuclear war that took place on Earth. That's entirely possible. Or there could have been some energetic release from the sun. The resulting effect appears to be that the Atlantean flood becomes the Atlantean glacier, and because it's now in a new position where the water freezes, it turns into Antarctica.
If structures from a pre-Adamite culture might exist below the ice, who are these beings that did not survive a cataclysm? Or did they?
We don't remember where we came from. We don't remember that we were essentially a seeded, genetically created race to be able to inherit the Earth. And what's interesting is the descendants of the pre-Adamites, the people who were here before the flood, the people who actually messed up, and apparently the Elohim voluntarily let this flood happen to largely wipe out the pre-Adamites on Earth. So these pre-Adamites, some of them, apparently still exist. They still have elongated skulls, and they still believe that they are the gods and that we are essentially an invading civilization. And then this new group gets sent in, the Adam, or the modern human form that we all are, with new DNA, genetically modified, tinkered, and sent down here, intended for the spiritual expression of humans to come out. And these pre-Adamite beings became very upset about this. After a great cataclysm that occurred about 12,800 years ago, the survivors of this pre-Adamite group were spread out all across the earth, and they had no way to communicate with each other. So the survivors of this group, which were not pre-Adamite bloodlines, they have been mixed and spliced with local humans, and they became a totally different species.
Could it really be true that there was once an unknown civilization of ancient beings in Antarctica? In 1929, a map was discovered inside Istanbul's Topkapi Palace, depicting Antarctica before it was covered with ice. Archaeologists have been able to carbon date the map's creation back to a Turkish admiral and cartographer named Piri Reis, who plotted it in 1513. This age was hundreds of years before the continent was discovered by modern man. Reis's map has both conventional and alternative scholars flummoxed. Where did he gather his knowledge? If the landmass depicted is indeed Antarctica, Is it possible that our true origins date back to a prehistoric seafaring civilization? While mainstream scientists are resistant to get behind these findings, no other explanation for the mysteries this map presents have been offered. But with global warming exposing new topography under the glaciers, harder evidence may be just around the corner.